You're listening to Distraction Therapy with Rob Watson. Conversations about how we find meaning in our lives and what it's like to be part of a meta-modern world.
So my name is Lucy Stevens. I'm a sound and visual artist, and we're here today at Aylestone Meadows to talk a little bit more about my exhibition and project Colour Coded Birds, which will take place at Leicester Museum November 2022 to March 2023. So my work started with sound, really. So as you can hear, we're at Aylestone Meadows in Leicester at the moment, so you can hear great tits, and there's bound to be robins and crows and all sorts in there. So I was really interested in creating kind of sound environments, really, and that was at university. So I used to use binaural audio, and I'd create these sound walks for people to go on. So I'd have to put the microphones in my ears and do the walks, and then people would walk afterwards. So I did one for Nottingham Castle, and then a few other local galleries. And then after that, I became really interested in people that kept pigeons and had quite unusual hobbies. So it would be people that would chase UFOs and show these kind of fancy pigeons, but also race pigeons as well. And it was a really kind of interesting community. They were really dedicated, to those animals, and they were really dedicated to finding these things in the sky. And I think it's about kind of that kind of sense of place kind of in community, really, and feeling like you belong, with your own people. And I think as an artist, you definitely have that when you find an artist collective like I have at Studio Name. So after that, I began recording the Dawn Chorus. I'd find quite remote places. It's better to record on a Sunday, as far away from traffic as you can, really. And obviously at dawn it would be nice and quiet, so I'd record at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And to capture birdsong, it's best to do it kind of in May, when all the birds have come back from migration, and you normally get this really beautiful soundscape that normally starts with the robin, because they're kind of up earliest and they're also up latest as well. And then you'll get all these other birds kind of joining in this kind of like chorus of song, and it's really lovely to kind of be there in the moment, because you realise that you're the only person hearing this sound from these angles, from this point at this at this time, and it's quite meditative. You can get completely lost in it. So while I'm listening, I do close my eyes and I try to pick out certain birds that I'm hearing as well, but I'll then go back home later on and I'll listen to it, and I'll try to visualise bird song within it. So that's not necessarily a scientific process. It's more kind of an instinctive thing. So I'll be listening to the tone, to the pitch, even the direction from where the sound's coming from, and then I'll do lots of different drawings. And if I've got 2 or 3 different symbols or notations for a bird song, say like a robin tick, which is quite high in pitch, I'll run it through a sonogram software, and I'll kind of use the software to help me decide what the shape should be. So you're not going to hear a bittern very often, but a bittern would make a really long kind of not long, kind of low, kind of booming sound. So it kind of goes ooh, 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 and they're really kind of secretive, and you don't really get to see them. So, and I think all of this love of kind of recording birdsong means that I can, I can identify them as well by song and by sight. I mean, I'm not perfect. I still class myself as an amateur bird watcher, because so many birds can mimic each other as well. So it's quite it can be really tricky sometimes to figure out what you can hear. But yeah, no, it's quite nice being able to share that with other people. So in terms of sound, the sound came before my actual visual artwork. So that was kind of the source of everything, really. Me trying to visualise birdsong. And now what I do is I draw birds and I paint birds, but they're quite abstract and figurative, and they'll have the birdsong in the background. But I also visualise conservation data. So I might be looking at the decline in cuckoos and the decline in the caterpillar moth that they eat. So I've created a series of quite simple looking collages that use quite bold and simple shapes, but it's reducing that data and that information right down to a piece of artwork that for me feels quite accessible and is quite easy to explain to people, rather than presenting people with something quite complex like the information I tend to read through. I'll kind of, it's very academic, dense text, and to be honest, you can't always access it because you need to be part of a university to be able to access that. So for me, it's about breaking that right down and thinking, okay, well, cuckoos are in decline because of this caterpillar that they can't eat anymore. How can I show this? So I did an abstract drawing of a caterpillar, flipped it upside down because it was in decline, and then for the background I just used a colour of the cuckoo's beak and feet, which is like a bright yellow. So yeah, it's quite important for me to be able to kind of share this information because climate change is obviously something that is affecting all of us, and we can all do a little bit to kind of help out. But I think I don't want to kind of ram stuff down people's throats. There's lots more everybody could be doing, but it's not that straightforward, isn't it? Not everybody can buy electric cars, and most people are recycling and thinking about their carbon footprint and not taking planes places and things like that. So it's kind of I kind of use my artwork as a tool to kind of raise issues like that, and also just to get people talking, really, just to start a conversation. So like I say, I'm not kind of batting somebody around the head with it and telling them that they're a terrible person. It's more just to start a conversation and that curiosity. And with a lot of my work, I work in collaboration with wildlife charities, so like the Wildlife Trust and British Trust of Ornithology, and they've been fantastic. But they also do lots of citizen science projects, so it means that people can get involved in these. So whether it's like the Big Garden Bird Watch, which happens at the end of January with the RSPB, where you count the different birds you can see in your garden or parks for an hour, or whether you get more involved and you learn how to do bird ringing or counting nests and eggs and things like that. There's a lot of these organisations rely heavily on volunteer data, and so that they can have data that spans 20, 40 years, so that they can see how the environment or kind of farming practices or things like that are affecting birds' habitats and population numbers and breeding numbers. So yeah, it's something really important. Ayleston Meadows at the moment. We're walking through a kind of favourite dog walking route of mine. My dog Millie, she's a Border Terrier, so we normally walk through here a couple of times a week. But it's really kind of beautiful, kind of dense woodland. It's been under threat of having a road put through it before. Yeah, it's really, really beautiful actually. There's so many different routes through here, but it's a kind of a wildlife haven. You can get crows, jays, you can probably hear blue tits and great tits in the background, robins. I've seen a nuthatch here before. Yeah, it's really beautiful. It's so cold though because it's January. So I've got my scarf and my hat on and kind of all wrapped up warm, but it's a really kind of crisp, lovely morning. And what I love about coming at about this time is I can hear the hum of the traffic, but it is quite quiet. You know, I can still hear the bird song, so it's quite nice to still be able to bird watch and listen while we're walking along. Yeah, I think it probably is Leicester's hidden gem. I mean, during lockdown and you know, while everyone was only allowed kind of out, you know, once for exercise, the Meadows was absolutely rammed. I mean, it was a bit of a haven for people. It was a real escape for them because they couldn't go on holiday. So you'd have people, you know, sunbathing here, even dipping in the canal, which I wouldn't really recommend. But, you know, I think it's really important to have spaces like this because, you know, so many people are able to get out and just, even if it's during their lunch break. So I was working last year, but I've left my job to be a full-time artist now. And me and my other half would come out. This is before we had Millie, our dog. And I taught him birdsong. So it was really nice to be able to kind of have that exchange. So I'd come and do little videos of him and I'd give him clues of, you know, what the bird was, what it looked like, what it sounded like. And he actually learnt, you know, kind of about, you know, 6 or 7 different birds from it. So that was really nice to be able to do that. And yeah, it was a real kind of sense of community because you kind of, you see the same people. So I think it really had a positive effect on people's mental health and their well-being because it was a really, you know, beautiful space for people to come to just to have their lunch, go for a walk, get some fresh air, you know, but get involved with wildlife because I think, you know, a lot of people don't know what wildlife is in the Meadows. And I mean, I'm you know, I kind of know a bit about birds, but I don't know what else is here really. So, and a lot of people aren't aware of, you know, the countryside code as well, you know, how you should act, you know, you shouldn't drop litter and, you know, it's you know, you shouldn't have barbecues and things like that. So I think it's about raising awareness of that as well, you know, because it's a space for everyone. But, you know, how do you tell people, you know, this is how people tend to act when they're in the woods. We're at a very very wet, sloppy bit here, so it's really muddy underfoot. Muddy but a little bit icy, so... And Millie's enjoying sniffing everything here and there. You can probably hear her pulling on the lead. Come on, what have you smelled? So, I mean, I've been talking with Leicester Museum, and I mean, they approached me back in about 2016. So, I mean, it's been on the books for quite a while for me to work with them. But I only started working with their bearskin collection in 2019. So, when they finally said, come on, let's have an exhibition, I said, oh yeah, great. So what I'm really interested in is, I mean, unfortunately the museums, you know, had kind of cuts to their staffing, so it means that they don't have any curators that know anything about the natural science collection, so the birdskins in particular, which is a shame. It's a huge shame. They still have collection managers who are absolutely fantastic and brilliant and great to work with. But I really wanted to kind of highlight the fact, not that they didn't have these resources anymore, but more, how would an artist catalogue an exhibition? How would an artist catalogue a collection? So the bird skins that they currently have, they kind of have them in drawers, but they aren't necessarily catalogued the way that, say, the Natural History Museum would do it. So it's kind of looking at a creative or an artistic way of cataloguing the exhibition. So I thought it'd be really nice to be able to colour code the birds, just because I've been so inspired by the colour of the plumage and the beak and the feet. So my plan is to, I've spoken to a guy called Hein from Natural History Museum, and he's going to come down, talk to the collection management team and also me about their collection, and also how they can best look after the collection at Leicester Museum, and just give them a few tips and pointers, really. But he'll also be able to talk to me about, why this collection is so important. And I mean, for me, it's important because it shows a breadth of, birds with, a variety of different colours. So you're looking at the variations between the same species. So they'll have a drawer of yellow hammers or a drawer of bullfinches, but, there could be 20 or 30 specimens in there. And none of them will be the same. They'll all be different sizes, slightly different shades. They've got that precious information on them, which is the tag. And, the tag kind of shows where they've been found and when the museum acquired them, kind of what sex they are. So it's really important to have that, and I think a lot of people, some people get a bit upset by the collections because they assume that they've been killed to be as part of the collection, but a lot of the birds were found in kind of 60s, 70s, 80s really. So they've mainly just collided with windows, cars, or they've been caught by cats, and then people have brought them into the museum to keep them as specimens. So for me, I'm really looking forward to creating some contemporary artwork and kind of showing that contemporary art and science can have a really strong connection and they can work together. So I'm hoping to have a cabinet full of red birds, yellow birds and blue birds, just to show that colour variation, but also to create some artwork which responds to the colour of the bird, but also the length, the wingspan, the weight of the bird. I'm going to be looking at conservation status for each bird, so that will feature as well. So where I spoke about earlier, the collages that depicted kind of dense information but in quite a simple way, I'll be doing a bit more of that but using sculpture. So there'll be bits of sculpture and there'll be bits of artwork framed on the wall as well. So I'm really looking forward to it. They've got a really good exhibitions manager. He's going to create some really nice graphics for it. But I mean, it feels so far away because it'll be in November, and I mean, everything could change, So, but yeah, it's been great working with the museum so far. I'm hoping that the connection that I have with the Natural History Museum will be able to continue, because I'm planning a residency in London at some point, so I'm hoping that I can work with Natural History Museum in the future. I can look at their collections, maybe move on to London Zoo, and kind of talk to birders in London as well, because I've got really good connections with Leicester birders and they've been really generous sharing their conservation survey data and their kind of population number data with me. But it'd be nice to kind of expand it a bit more, just to see kind of what else is going on in London, especially because they've got, the South Bank, and they've got cormorants and herring gulls and, a bit more diverse kind of birds around there, really, especially their green parakeets that they've got as well. So, and they're an invasive species, so it'd be interesting to see, even if birders include them in their numbers, sometimes they don't. They kind of don't count them at all. So I think it would be great to be able to build a connection with the museum, but also, with other collaborators outside as well. I'm quite lucky, actually. The museum purchased 2 of my pieces for their public collection, so it means that they'll have these pieces kind of long after I've gone, which is really nice, actually, that there's a bit of a legacy going on there, and that they've invested in a Leicester artist as well. So in terms of local connections, obviously, so it won't be an Arts Council funding exhibition, it'll be self-funded. But I'm looking to have all of the work photographed. But I'm hoping that there'll be, the museum's really great at bringing school groups in, so it'll have local school groups in kind of once a week, and it will also have community groups doing arts award and things like that. So hopefully I can deliver an artist talk, and I can talk more about the collection and also my work and why I've done it, and hopefully bring in an expert as well so that they can talk about it. And also it'd be nice for us to find a taxidermist who can explain how it's all done, really. How does he do it from kind of getting this little bird in, and kind of how does he bring it back to life, basically. That's what we want to know. So that's kind of what I think is going to happen in terms of local. I've not always listened to the wildlife around me. That was a green woodpecker then. It has a bit of a manic laugh. You can kind of hear it going, yeah, 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 yeah. I've not always listened to wildlife around me. And I know that when I'm really stressed or I'm really busy, I can't hear bird song. And I know that there's something wrong and I need to chill out and I need to take a break. So, for me, being able to listen, it's about that connection. Because if you have a connection to an area or to wildlife, then you start to care, don't you? And it means something to you. If you can say, that's a green woodpecker or that's a robin, and then you find out they're in decline, then you're going to do something about it. You want to put some food out in your garden or maybe in the park, or you'll get involved with these citizen science projects. So but it's also a health and well-being thing. It's so easy to kind of stay inside on your phone, on your laptop, and just keep your head down and keep working. But sometimes you just need to get out and you need to just breathe, And it's nice to be able to see. That's a great tip, doing the teacher. It's just nice to be able to identify birds. I feel really connected to this place because I come here all the time. So. Be a good girl. I think being able to listen, it's like I said before, it's quite meditative. So listen, you can kind of. I did a project with a friend which was listening to wildlife, even if it's on your bed with your window open, and kind of mindful meditation. So that was about, closing your eyes, really focusing on the sounds you can hear. Well, you can hear your breathing to start off with, and then you can hear the sounds in the room, and then you can hear a bit further away. And it's about kind of really grounding yourself and connecting, really. And then you bring it all back to yourself. But it's just about taking time for you and, noticing if you've got any aches or pains in your bodies or how you're holding your body as well. So I think it is all very connected. And I do want to explore more yoga, meditation with recorded bird song, or even, out in nature as well, because I think it's I just think it's a perfect kind of collaboration. It's a perfect kind of natural collaboration, really. But yeah, it's about caring and it's about connecting, and I think it just enriches your life. It kind of gives you another reason to go out. You're not just blindly kind of walking the dog as quickly as you can. It's just noticing those extra things that kind of create highlights as part of your day, really. The best day is New Year's Day. That's what I did. I came out and walked the dog, and I said to Ali, it was like a zombie apocalypse because there was nobody around. And I just said to him, it was so nice because it was so quiet. There's no cars, there's no people, it was just bliss, and you could hear everything, and it was lovely. So I think, obviously we're in the countryside, aren't we? It's kind of Leicestershire, so there are some really kind of great spots that you can go to. But yeah, to get those recordings, you have to be deep in the wood really early in the morning on a Sunday morning, really. But yeah, I think even kind of listening to birdsong or I don't know, even kind of podcasts and things, I do quite a lot of that in the studio. I've always got a podcast on, or I'm listening to music on headphones, like, kind of noise cancelling headphones, which means I can't hear anything else. So if someone's knocking on my door or asking me something, I can't hear them at all. But yeah, I find that, to make artwork, I have to, I'm kind of somewhere else completely. I'm immersed in it. So for me, it's about, either listening to birdsong, or there's a track called by B1. It was a collaboration with Wolfgang Buttress, and he recorded the sounds of bees, and he got an orchestra to kind of respond to it, and it's really beautiful. So I'll kind of listen to that, and then kind of art podcasts and things like that, really. But listen to quite a lot of things on repeat to create stuff. So, but it's nice to find a little hidden gem like this, kind of in the middle of Leicester, really. So. probably blue tip. Yeah, see just there, it's just flicking its tail. Yeah, crows and blue tits. I'm normally quite amazed by wrens because they're so little but they're so loud. They're tiny and you just see their tail flick up and they'll... He never poses till I hold it. Give you a treat then. And sit down. Go. Yeah, that was my... Yeah, so we do this one sometimes, but there's another one where we'll go kind of past the Black Horse and over the bridge, and yeah. Normally do about half an hour to 45 minutes, so she'll really enjoy this. I feel like I've been wearing this coat forever now, so, but just to keep warm. Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes you'll come down and, you know, obviously it's kind of all iced over at the moment and it's kind of sludgy in some bits, but it's got that really beautiful kind of crisp morning where the sun's shining. It's really nice when it's like that, but I've been here when it's, you know, the canal's flooded and because we've had so much rain, or it's, you know, the banks are really dry, they've got massive cracks in them during the summer. So yeah, you really kind of see it change, and it looks like they've cut back a lot of the trees as well, so you can kind of see through them a bit, and it's normally, you know, you normally can't, it's completely dense, it's normally just completely green. So yeah, you kind of, you really get to see and even hear the changes, because obviously, you know, with it being more dense, it would block out the sounds of the traffic as well. But also you'd have more people kind of walking around. So, yeah, like I say, during lockdown, you couldn't really go anywhere because it was so full of other people kind of crossing you. But it was nice to see so many people out just enjoying the space, really. Yeah, I think I just need to start the project, to be honest. I've done about 6 sculptures, and I'm about to design more sculptures that have slats in them, so they'll be like totems. But I've got no idea if they're going to look any good, or it's quite difficult showing something completely new because I'm used to showing stuff, you know, on the wall in a frame. So that could be works on paper, it could be a canvas. But moving to sculpture and showing it is quite a big thing. So, yeah. I mean, I'd love to. I really want to. So I think I'm going to make myself do it. So if I say I'm going to do it on here, I have to do it. So, but yeah, I just think having bird skins in a cabinet. So say I've got a yellow hammer in a cabinet, and then having some artwork next to it will be really lovely. It'll be roughly the same size. And it might just be, you know, I really like the idea of, you're talking about community and how people can get involved. I really like the idea of having some artwork that weighs the same as the bird, but obviously you're not allowed to touch the bird, but you can touch this sculpture and you can feel how light the bird is. Or, you know, it kind of being the same length, or having the wingspan of a bird, or, yeah, just some kind of simple markings on it to show it's, you know, because the yellowhammer's in decline, so, you know, kind of looking at that and looking at why it's in decline as well, and, you know, how you can help, you know. So it's not just a dead end. It's not just, oh, these are nice pieces of artwork. It's, you know, there's a story in there, you know, it's got legs, it's telling you about this bird now. This bird might be dead, but actually there's more of them alive. And that's another thing. I've looked at the collection, and I think all the birds that I'm going to be showing are UK birds, so they're going to be birds that people are used to seeing. So hopefully they will have that connection with them. And we're talking about having a red, yellow and a blue booklet which talks about the different birds, and that people can take away with them, and hopefully fold out into a nice poster or something. So yeah, it'd be nice, not just nice, but I think it's important for people to have that information to take away with them, because I realise it's probably quite a lot to take on. But yeah, so we're going beyond, obviously you want it to be aesthetically pleasing for the artwork to look nice, but actually there's meaning behind it. And I've done a hell of a lot of research, and I've spoken to experts about it, and it's kind of gone in my brain, and then I've kind of churned it out and created this artwork. So it's an important collection, so it's worth showing and worth commenting on and creating artwork based on it. The way that I create artwork now is shifted quite a bit. So it used to be, solely based on me getting, the sound recordings and then visualizing them. And now it's, it's something I still love to do because, I like to be able to still be able to identify birds as well. And it's like another language. You have to practice it, don't you? But I think for me now it's more about spending time in the studio, coming out on walks like this, but also getting to see other exhibitions and other artwork, really. So it's more, because it's shifted to be visual artwork. I do sound stuff sometimes, but I tend to do that in collaboration with musicians. But it's more about the making, really. So for me it's about the practice and about being in the studio as much as possible. But even in the studio, we've got crows on the roof. You can hear them walking along the roof and you can hear them chatting to each other. And sometimes if you're there late at night, you can hear them kind of walking on the ceiling, and it sounds really creepy because you don't really know what it is. And if you start kind of, worrying about that, it can be a bit daunting. But I think, bird song and recording sound is always going to be a part of my practice. It's, that's kind of where it started, and it's developed since then. It's something I always kind of keep coming back to as well. I love to record the dawn chorus at different locations, because obviously you're going to get a different dawn chorus at different locations. So I always try to record it, every year in May at a different venue, or I'll go to a walk at Rutland Water or something where there's a ranger or an expert telling you what birds you can hear and telling you what's flying back from Africa. So I think that's really nice, just to be around that community again, those kind of people that are really interested in connecting with wildlife. So but I like the idea of kind of composing outside and not kind of doing it at your desk at your computer, because I imagine that would be very different, because for me I use Audacity and I'll record using I've forgotten what it's a Tascam device that I use, but I record in like a figure of 8, the way that I have 2 omnidirectional microphones in a windshield, and for me that it creates a really nice field recording. So when you listen back to it on headphones, it's quite realistic, and it gives a really nice kind of stereo kind of environment. Record kind of composing like that would be really tricky. I don't know if I could deal with that. I do think that sometimes you can be more creative with less. So, whether that's less money or less materials, or, just because sometimes you can have an infinite kind of number of ideas and kind of different things. And I think sometimes, you can feel like you don't know where to start. So I think as an artist, you have to put in rules and boundaries for yourself when you're making stuff. So, I tend to work on paper. I use mixed media, so I'll use paint, normally household paint, acrylic. I'll also use wax pastel, oil pastel. So that's not really limiting myself in terms of that, but it's normally on paper, and it's normally, it's normally influenced by birds, their conservation status. But sometimes you do have to create these rules for yourself, these creative rules, because otherwise, sometimes you just don't start. So I think that's important. Yeah, so I mean, if anyone's interested in the project, they want to listen to any soundscapes and see artwork that I've created recently, they can go to my website, that's www.lucystevens.co.uk, or they can find me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's at Lucy Jo Stevens, so it's LucyJostevens.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Run, going faster miles an hour. Gonna drive fast and stop and shop with the radio on. I'm in love with Massachusetts and the neon when it's cold outside, and the highway when it's late at night. Got the radio on. I'm like a roadrunner. Outside, I'm in love with Massachusetts. I'm in love with the radio on. It helps me from being alone late at night. Helps me from being lonely late at night. I don't feel so bad now in the car. Don't feel so alone. Got the radio on. Like a roadrunner. That's right. The highways we go for an edge. We go by quick, suburban trees, suburban speed, and it smells like him. And I say, roadrunner once, roadrunner twice. I'm in love with rock and roll, and I'll be out all night, roadrunner. That's right.
You've been listening to Distraction Therapy with me, Rob Watson. Find out more at robwatsonmedia.net or follow me on Instagram and Twitter at RobWMedia.